when you don't believe any of your opinions enough for other people to know that these are your opinions, basically? Okay, you there? Hello? Are you there?
Yeah, sorry. No, it's not that I don't believe in my opinions. Of course, I believe in my opinions. It's just like you do. It comes down to a more of just I don't want my face to be publicly uh, in the limelight. If that makes sense, I would just prefer to remain anonymous.
I mean, you can stay anonymous, man. I mean, I guess I'll just enjoy this debate for what it is. But damn, man, I'm still not understanding why like so many liberals and leftists are scared to show their face. I don't understand. But oh, damn, man, that's horrible. Sorry, I got my freaking computer over here playing the live stream.
Mhm,
That's freaking horrible. But
mhm.
yeah. Where are you from? You want to say any of that, or you want to say how old you are? Or you want to do some kind of introduction?
Sure, yeah. You can call me TJ. I'm 25 and I live in a small town in Virginia. Uh, it's mainly right wing a lot here. It's huge red state, but um, I am one of the few people who actually believe in a more leftist leaning view here, which also leads me to not really want to show my face just in case anyone does watch this and they're like, oh well, I know him, and that leads to a lot of retaliation. So, yeah, I mean that's just
Retaliation.
yeah.
I understand why you understand why people want to stay anonymous while debating. You spew fascist dog whistles, right? What fascist dog
Well,
whistles?
I don't believe in. I don't think I would say. I think fascism is more of like extreme leftist. I don't discount that it is a leftist leaning viewpoint. I'm not fascist. I don't believe in fascism. I
No,
don't
I think
believe in
he's
a lot of.
referring to me as the fascist
Ah,
one. I don't. I'm not
well, that
fascist
does it.
either. I don't support fascism, but what I will touch and talk about on fascism is that. Could you at least like just turn your camera off so we can see your profile picture instead of just black?
Yeah, sure.
That I think that's better because it kind of looks weird when it's black. But yeah, that looks better. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah. So no, I like a lot of people will call us fascists. Like I'm not gonna call someone on the left a fascist. I'm not gonna call them a communist, of course, unless they actually identify as a communist or a socialist or anything like that. Or maybe I'll say some of their values are communist or socialist or something like that. But where should we start? I guess we can just start with we'll start with what are your opinions on like how the border should be ran and how a country should protect its nation or how it should have an open border or closed border
Sure.
or go ahead.
I have a few arguments. I mean, one being that an ex- a big part of the border, right, is profit. Um, a lot of people that come to
I don't
America
know how
via
it's profit. I mean,
yeah,
sorry to
I'll
interrupt you,
explain.
but
No, you're
okay,
good.
go
I,
ahead,
I can explain.
continue.
Um, the border, right, is in its current state. It's not really protecting anyone if people can still come in. So that leads me to believe that the border, right? Especially with people like ICE running around, and it kind of puts me in a viewpoint that these kind of profit led organizations obviously are doing this to inflate a lot of inflate a lot of numbers on your side. There's also the issue with low wages for these immigrants that come from a different country, and they're being threatened with deportation simply for existing. It's not something that I don't necessarily believe that everyone should, of course, be paid the same thing. I'm not the type of person who values equality over equality. Um, but it just seems a bit askewed that people these guys who work very very hard, they get paid 9-10 bucks an hour, when in some places minimum wage is almost 21 bucks an hour. For example, California, a lawnmower there, a person who mows lawns for a living professionally, is paid close to $21 an hour. Whereas some of these companies who employ these immigrants, and they go through the whole process of paying them on the table, only make about $9 an hour if we convert it into that.
I
Um,
kind of highly doubt they even make $9. I mean, maybe some of the time, but I haven't really, to be
Absolutely.
honest with you, I haven't looked at statistics, but they're probably not. $9 is pretty close to federal minimum wage, and I don't think that they're even, making $9 an hour. I think we completely agree there, but you can keep going with your points. But one of the question I wanted to ask you was, so you believe in like a borderless society or a borderless country because you said you believe in open borders, which
I
makes
do
me
believe in
think
open
that.
borders.
So you don't want a checkpoint, you don't want any kind of border whatsoever.
I don't think those things are necessary. Um, and you may raise the argument that that compromises security quite a bit. But when you put into perspective that a lot of the border, like the border is literally on the line, on the intersection of Mexico. A lot of our immigrants here are of Mexican descent, or they are from some other uh, Spanish country. However, statistically speaking, there are more attacks by different countries, different religions, and not necessarily even Mexico themselves. You may also make the argument that they bring in a lot of criminals, such as the cartel and other gang members and drugs and whatnot. Um, but I think we're at a point where we're pretty much able to catch a lot of that very easily, and I don't think a border is necessarily going to stop that. In a sense that it's still happening. It's still happening a lot. In fact, drugs are smuggled into America every day, every hour, every minute. So the border, if it's supposed to keep these things out, are extremely fraud. I mean, or not fraud, extremely flawed. Um, and it just seems to me that having the border there is mainly just meant for the profit, and it's meant to inflate this whole like wealthy imperialist country which is America, and it just seems redundant in a way. um
Is that your talking point then? Can I respond to all that? That's a lot of information right there.
yeah, absolutely.
So the first thing I would like to say is, I mean, you said you're fine with, there shouldn't be a border at all, which means that you're pretty much fine with rapists, child abusers, murderers, anyone with really heinous criminal backgrounds coming into the country. And when it turns to the drugs and the stuff like that that's getting smuggled in, I mean, you can just look at the statistics. All those numbers have, decreased significantly. Like the amount of drugs being brought into this country have decreased significantly. Illegal immigrants and criminals coming into this country have decreased significantly. And when you say open borders, that means you're basically okay with people not only rapists, murderers, essayers, all these horrible, heinous criminals coming into the country. That means you're also basically okay with people from Mexico bringing in children through our borders, selling these children, human trafficking these children, all kinds of things coming into the children because we don't have a checkpoint, if we don't have a border, if we don't have any of that stuff. And talk about profit for the border, profiting from ICE and profiting from the border. Can you know the profits, their profit margin? Because I have not heard anything about like America making billions of dollars from stopping illegal immigrants. We're losing money from protecting our country from allowing anyone to come in. Like if we let people, if you let open borders, you're basically saying you're fine because other people from other countries will definitely sell women and children to inside the United States because they know that there's weirdos and there's creeps that will buy children and women in the United States for trafficking and a bunch of disgusting things. So basically, when you say you want an open border, I mean, I can agree to some parts and some stuff about immigration reform. And we can probably agree on that perhaps. But when it comes to open border, I think that's all around a terrible idea because we have a border. The border does indeed work. We are indeed stopping, a lot of drug trafficking, a lot of human trafficking. We are stopping a lot of, women and children from going missing at the border now that we have security. Your argument was that we were already stopping a lot of these people when they come into the country. Well, the idea is to try to prevent them from ever even coming into the country in the first place. And we've seen under Donald Trump, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely been some people here and there sneaking through. But as far as that we're seeing with our own eyes, with droning, with looking at different statistics that the government uses, the number of people crossing the border illegally has virtually dropped to zero, which I know that's not 100% accurate on that number. Of course, people get through, but I'm talking about with what the government can statistically see. Before under Biden, we knew, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people sometimes were sneaking into the country, sneaking into that border. And also, the other thing that you said, I'm trying to think, what was the other point that you said? Is there anything I'm missing on your points so far? But basically, how can we have an open border? with at the same time allowing people to come into this country, and not to mention the strain it does on the infrastructure. Taxpayers, for instance, in Massachusetts, they spent $1.6 billion of state taxpayer money to house illegal immigrants last year. That really hurts the state's budget. I mean, we're not talking about a federal budget where they have a lot more money. We're talking about a state budget. That's $1.6 billion that could have been used for veterans or homeless or actual United States citizens. And open borders is just letting more people come in. Illegal immigrants come into this country. They take up our welfare money. I mean, there's many cases I can say if you're going to say, oh, illegal immigrants don't take up welfare. Being born in the United States is, a gift. It's only, not everyone gets to live in the United States. And if they're trying to come for a legit asylum or come for a better life, Trump has worked out deals with El Salvador, I believe Guatemala, and a couple other countries in South America for to accept some asylums for people that want a better life, that are coming for a better life. Do you think the best country in the world should just have open borders and let any, let criminals that harmed women and children, that raped people, that abused people, that did all kinds of this heinous activity to, women and children? Should we allow those people to come into our country and just figure it out later? But I'll let you talk. But if you guys have any questions, comments, anything you guys want to talk about, you can drop some super chats. Smash that like button. We got 337 people in here. Okay, go ahead. You can say your part now.
Um, so I mean, you brought up a good point with crime rates, but I mean, I'm sorry to tell you, but a large body of research consistently shows that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes, other than less crimes than native-born citizens that are. This holds true for both legal and undocumented immigrants. Um, I could point out a couple. For example, research from the Cato Institute, which is a libertarian think tank, basically.
Is that the
It
one out of
has
San Francisco? I think I might have seen that one before.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it is shown that undocumented immigrants have significantly lower incarceration rates for violent and property crimes than native-born Americans. And there's also no correlation with increased crime. There is no study, there is no statistical evidence to support the claim that higher levels of immigration leads to higher crime rates. That's per capita, and that's also per state. There's no state with a large or a large Hispanic population that says that, oh shit, we have a lot of Hispanics here. The crime rate's higher. That's never been the case. In fact, um, the the main shift here, when broken down by specific offenses, the data continues to show lower rates of criminality among immigrant populations. This includes everything from minor offenses to serious felonies. But I also think it's important to differentiate between criminal offenses, civil violations, and civil violations of immigration law. While entering the country, sure, without authorization is a violation of the federal law, which in itself is a crime, and I understand that. The data still doesn't support the idea that this act correlates with a higher propensity to commit other crimes. So yes, while they are committing a crime illegally, entering the United States, which may inflate some statistics there regarding, the crime rate and illegal immigrants, it doesn't show a pattern of violent crimes like you mentioned, grape or anything else you mentioned. Um,
So you don't. A quick question. Sorry to interrupt you, but do you think that increasing a population could possibly add more criminals and add more crimes into, like, if you increase the population of a country, do you think more or less crimes are going to happen? And also, I can pretty much debunk that there's no federal statistics about legal immigration crime rates, and that's for a reason because we don't have accurate data and statistics on it. But what I will say is my friend works as a criminal defense attorney in Massachusetts. He's actually a Democrat himself, but he told me himself he lives in a what is it called, a not an asylum state, but a sanctuary state. And in a sanctuary state, he's seen judges firsthand decline prosecuting illegal immigrants because they don't want them to be deported. So this has been, a fact in court cases. The numbers are not very, solid on that. But increasing the overall population of a country, normally when you increase a group of people to a small amount of people to a very large amount of people, normally you see the crime rates going on. I'm not talking about per capita, I'm talking about overall. You'll see more crimes, which I know you mentioned per capita and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm not trying to say that illegal immigrants, do commit more crimes or not. I'm not doubting that statistic. All I'm pointing out is that we don't actually have any, government statistics about that. These are all independent third party organizations making statistics about illegal immigration crime. And like I said before, raising the population will almost always increase the crime rates of how many overall crimes we have overall in the country. And as like I said before, I don't know how you feel about welfare if you would give these illegal immigrants welfare, but I don't think they should be getting
Mhm.
welfare if they're coming into the country illegally. Like I said, we have taxpayer US citizens that have been paying, taxes for 10, 20, 30 years and they're not getting the same kind of welfare programs. They don't get, you know, all these benefits that the illegal immigrants get, but I'll let you respond to that.
No, I don't think that crime rate increases the population. I think crime rate increases with a when you kind of formulate the mix of things like drugs and cultures when it comes to
What
when it
about
comes to
being
those
poor?
things.
Would that increase the crime rate?
I think that could be a definite factor. I think you may be right that sometimes people go they kind of think, you know what, desperate times call for desperate measures.
And would you say a lot of the illegal immigrants are coming into this country because they're desperate?
I think they're just like anyone else. They're seeking asylum from a place that is much, 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 much worse than America.
So would they
I
be
mean,
poor if they're desperate and trying to seek asylum coming into this country?
do you think that's the case for every single Hispanic
I
person?
think it's for all the ones that are coming illegally. If they have money, why wouldn't they just pay for a lawyer to come in legally, the legal
Because
route?
it's a long and arduous process that
They can
takes
get a work
months.
visa in 30 to 45 days.
Yes, but when that is such a thin line, right? Like if anything happens, if they violate any single law, if even if it's just loitering, right? The work visa is revoked and they're sent back
And
to their
if
country,
they even get
right?
caught at a gas station from a police officer and they're illegally here, and the police officer says, ID, sir, they can get deported. So, wouldn't they rather just come into the country illegally? Because if they ever get identified by, law enforcement whatsoever, even if they're not committing a crime, they can get deported. If they come legally, yeah, they can get deported if they commit crime. If they're on a work visa, absolutely. But wouldn't it be better for them just to come legally if they had money? And you pretty much already admitted that a lot of them are coming here for a better life, which indicates that they're poor, which indicates that, you've already agreed in the initial statement that poor people will, commit crimes. You've at least admitted that some of them will come here that are poor, and people that are poor. Okay, here's a super chat from someone. So let's read this out loud. You should use the word illegal aliens. All immigrants are legal because immigration is a legal process. This is an important distinction. I absolutely agree with you, Margarenald. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
That's Marigold.
Marigold.
Marigold, yeah.
Okay, I haven't really heard that
Um,
name before, but that might be common or popular somewhere. I think maybe in Virginia. Sounds like a southern name to me. But I'm from Florida, so I'm not trying to
so-
judge or say anything like that. I love a good name like that. But where were we at? Yeah. So we were saying, if they come in illegally, you've already admitted that, adding, poor people into the population that are trying to, adding group of, poverty increases crime. We've already established that. You've already agreed to that. You've already agreed that a lot of these people are coming from impoverished countries for a better life that are going through, issues with cartel, et cetera, et cetera. So with all those things coming in common, with that kind of logical thinking, you would think that you would agree, since poverty creates crime, that letting illegal immigrants into this country that are, impoverished would, increase the crime statistically overall. And I don't know how you can think that, and I don't know how you can think that not increasing the overall population doesn't increase the crime. I mean, but that's a whole nother debate. I don't really have any statistics or anything to talk about there, but I would just highly disagree with that part. And I mean, I would still like for you to, touch on some of the welfare topics that I've pointed out if you can, and what your thoughts are on it.
yeah. So, and this is just a personal opinion. Um, I feel that anyone who needs help since we are a company, or I said a company, since we are a country that participates in asylum, right? Like we do offer asylum to people who desperately need it. Um, I feel that welfare is best suited for these type of, or for these people who come to this country. If we want to give them the best chance, I mean, if you, like you said, you know, if you believe that that a lot of these people who come over and they jump the border to get here, that they already plan to do things illegally, um, which is not the case at all. By the way, a lot of these people come here for a better life. They come here to get away from all of the crime and the absolute carnage that's going on in their own country. Um, they are also just looking for peace the same way that a lot of us are. Um, when you define these people, these are the type of people that I would say are actively seeking asylum. Welfare is something that they could definitely benefit from. Um,
You said a lot there, so let me try to touch on a couple points. I do agree with helping people, but the way the United States is set up, we're already in a massive deficit compared to any other country in the world. We should be putting American citizens first. And Trump also reinstated remain in Mexico, which means you cannot enter this country illegally and then apply for asylum. If you're coming from Mexico, you have to apply for asylum, at the border, which they can put you into the detention center. They can have a conversation with you. If you pass all their tests, they may release you into the United States after they do some research on you. They question you about your asylum. If they, say that you're a legitimate asylum seeker, they may, release you into the United States and they may let you go in, but you have to go through a process still. There's still a process. I agree with Trump's remain in Mexico. We've seen, I don't know if you know about the UK, but they have millions of people protesting in the street right now because they don't agree with how the UK is handling situations, which basically says any illegal immigrant can come into this country. We're not going to enforce the border whatsoever, and we're just going to let everyone come in, and then they can file for asylum and stay as long as they want until their asylum is dealt with and handled and whatnot. And when it comes to welfare, we should put American citizens first. We only have so many American dollars that we can use. We should not be giving welfare to other people. We have people that fought for this country. We have people that paid taxes for 20, 30 years that now are on bad luck and are broke. They need some uplifting from the government. They should not be
extremely
spending
understandable.
millions of dollars for housing for illegal immigrants. Sorry, continue.
Extremely understandable. Everything you said, extremely understandable from your point of view. I get it, right? But, however, food, housing, and healthcare is a fundamental human right under the U.S. Constitution, which means that
That's for United
anyone,
States citizens, though. It's under the U.S. Constitution, which the
if
people
you
that
are
get
here,
full constitutional rights are only U.S. citizens.
The Constitution does not state that this is only viewable for U.S. citizens. It said it's a human right, any human,
Great point that you
a
said.
fundamental human right, right?
You're telling me that immigrants or people that are here on visas or illegal immigrants, they have all the same constitutional rights as citizens. That's what you're trying to point out.
We're talking about specifically welfare benefits here, are we not?
Yeah, but I'm just asking you a
Right.
general question. Do you believe all legal immigrants or people on visas or immigrants or all legal immigrants and people on visas? Let's just say that. Do you think they have the same constitutional rights as American citizens? Yes or no?
I believe that any citizen, or any person, any human, any body that is here in the US states and is actively seeking asylum from a worse country, from a country that is completely in turmoil, or a country that cannot provide for itself, that comes here should be considered for welfare benefits. And I say this, right?
You still
Because
didn't answer the
it's
question, but continue.
so no, I don't think they should receive all rights just off the bat. Only the ones that are
They don't.
vital to
Immigrants
human.
don't have the same constitutional rights as us. I was waiting for you to say they do, so I could prove you wrong, but you never fell into the trap. But someone said Google how many Home Depots are in Mexico. 140. I don't know
So
why that matters, but
yeah, that's I also don't know why that matters. That was a weird thing to bring up. Thank you for the fun fact though. Um no, I don't think that they should receive all rights. Also, the US Constitution, at some points it does say a US citizen, or it says a citizen, which we assume to be a US citizen. for specifically this purpose, right? It says fundamental human right, inalienable rights,
But these people aren't even green
inalienable.
card holders. They're not even green card holders,
Inalienable
much
meaning
less
that
U.S. citizens.
anybody should receive these benefits no matter of their citizenship, right? We can assume that based on the fact that it says fundamental human right and not a U.S. citizen's right. Now, just off of public
I
health
could
and safety alone, hang on, just off of
go ahead.
public health and safety alone, denying basic health care and food assistance to any segment of the population can lead to a public health crisis, like the spread of diseases, social instability driven by desperation, which is where that crime thing fits in, where you were saying that desperation, that will to survive. That's where this comes in, because we have the assets, and we also have the ability to provide for them, but we don't, right? Simply because they're too scared to come forward and ask, or they have this fear of getting deported. It all comes down to the fact that in their eyes, we're not going to help them because we're just going to send them back home, which is what we're going to do if we find out they're an illegal citizen.
So your
Uh,
claim is that we have enough resources and food and money
I
for them.
think we have much more than enough
We're
resources.
not
I think
even
we have
taking
way more
care
than
of our
enough
homeless and
resources.
our veterans on the street. You do realize if we let a bunch of illegal
That seems
immigrants
like
come
more
into
of a
our
choice than
country,
anything to me. I mean,
sorry,
there are in fact, billions and trillions of abandoned houses all over America that are just sitting abandoned, that could be transformed into a more
these
habitable
are
place,
houses that people
right?
own. Are you a communist? These are houses that this is legitimate. Are you like a communist or a socialist?
As
Because
by
these are,
abandoned,
people have property rights. If you believe in the Constitution, then
by
you should
abandoned,
believe. Sorry.
you're right. You're right. I should be more specific with what I'm saying.
Both of you
Abandoned
have
as
never
in
been. Sorry to interrupt you, but someone dropped a super chat, so I just want to read it out
mm,
loud. Both of you never been to Mexico. It's a lie. He's saying they have everything we have. Well, they also have cartels, though. We
I've been
can't
to
forget about
Mexico.
that.
I've been to Mexico many times. I've been to Sinaloa. I've been all over Mexico, and I can promise you, Mexico is is cool. It's not a shithole, right? But it's also not great. It's not America. It's not, like it's not somewhere that would see myself staying for a long time. It's and it has slums, right? Like, this is something I can say because it's true. There are slums in Mexico that are so bad, in fact, that there are people who are unalived on the street, just on the street. That's not something that I would consider to be the
That's
American
because of
dream.
the gang and the poor government authority. Thank you for that super
Understandable.
chat, Guardy Zard. But yeah, as I
Understandable.
was saying, you think we have unlimited resources and houses to give to all these illegal immigrants? I mean, we got
I don't
30 million illegal immigrants in this country right now, somewhere between 25 million and 30 million. Do you think we have enough money and resources to give all these people houses and freaking welfare? We have U.S. citizens that can't even get welfare, free housing. Why are we giving it to all the illegal immigrants? Why are we putting
I,
other immigrants in other countries ahead of our own citizens? I'm still very lost on that. I mean, we don't have an infinite amount of resources. We have a finite amount of houses, money, and welfare that we can give, and that needs to go to veterans and American citizens before anyone else. We can't just be giving this out to every single person out there. Thank you, Steven, for that super chat. But we can't be giving this out to every single freaking person out there. We have to put American citizens, and once again, you still haven't touched on, the subject of letting, if you believe letting in rapists, murderers, and people without background checks into this country, because that's exactly what you're supporting when you say, "Oh, it's fine if we let every single illegal immigrant into this country. No borders, no background checks, no nothing whatsoever." You have not talked about the fact that some criminals would come in that are murderers, rapists, woman abusers, etc., etc. Even if it's a small percentage, it would basically make the United States a stomping ground for any kind of person that wants to come in with a heinous criminal record, because Europe doesn't allow these kind of people in. Other countries don't let these heinous people with these crazy background checks in. So basically, we would become the dumping ground for criminal illegal immigrants in the entire world. And that would definitely increase our crime rate if we're just saying, "Oh, yeah, come on in. We don't care if you're a rapist, human trafficker, any of that stuff. We don't care." But hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys have any comments, questions, just drop some super chats.
I did want to touch up on this because I thought it was a very interesting thing to say, to kind of point out that we're allowing rapists and murderers to come into America when we already have that problem. It's already a problem here,
We
right?
would be
There's no
openly welcoming them. We would say, "Oh, come
and
in. There's no border check. There's no
and
background check." Yes, that we already have them. That's why Trump is specifically targeting these people above anyone else. That's why exactly Trump is targeting deporting these people above anyone else. That's exactly why we have background checks. But I understand what you're saying. We already do have them in our country, but should we welcome them into our country with open arms? I
and
like
I
this
want
super
to
chat right here. Advertising to the world that if you come here illegally, we give them citizens paper and benefits. What you're saying to the world is the cut in line of the people doing the right thing is immoral. Yeah, there's people that. What about the people that have been waiting 2 or 3 or 4 years? You want to open the border to let all the illegal immigrants in, while people, that have been waiting years and years and paid tens of thousands of dollars to process and come in legally are gonna, just get fucked off basically, and they don't get anything.
Well, I think you just fully outlined the entire problem, right? That plagues them, right? Is the fact that it takes 2 or 3 years just to get into the country and to be accepted.
That
It
depends what kind of visa you're processing. If you're going for a work visa, like you've admitted, it can take 35 to 45 days. And this is for a generalized H-2A visa, I believe it's called. This can mean any kind of job you can get this visa for. It's not a specific kind of job. It's not engineer. It's not a doctor. It's really anything.
and you know the acceptance rate of U.S.
I
work
don't know
visa.
the acceptance rate, but do you think we should accept every single person, even if they have a criminal background, even if they have all kinds of heinous stuff on their record? Do you think we should, give all these people, a welfare above American citizens? Do you think we should let criminals into this country?
The acceptance rate of 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 any month, specifically summer, which is when we have the highest amount of people attempting to come into the U.S. through work visas, is 20 to 30%. Right? It's extremely hard to get a work visa here, and that's if you have no that's if you have zero crime record. You have a clean slate crime record in your country. 20 to 30%, depending on what you're attempting to get into the country for, depending on if you
Depends
have
on the
family
type of
here or not,
visa. You
depends
can
on if
also
you
come
can
and
get a
do
sponsor,
investment.
right? And and there's also the most common visa type, which is a B1 or a B2 tourist visa, or a business visa, which represents about 75% of all applicants across the country. It's it's very hard to get one, right? So I just want you to live with that information while I go over the next thing, right? It's not
Okay, before
it's
you
not
go over the
like
next
they
thing, can I read
Mhm.
some of these super chat donations real quick and just
Yeah,
mention some
yeah,
of these comments really fast, unrelated
yeah.
completely? Someone said, "What's the process to call into debate?" If you want to debate next, drop me a $10 super chat. I'll have you on after him. We have a line of other people, but you can just skip over that if you drop like a $10 super chat. And someone said, "This is just a comment. This has nothing to do with my opinions." And let's see what they said. Someone dropped a super chat. They said the U.S. should find other countries for their runaways. Their citizens are their responsibilities, not ours. Maybe if they are fine, they will protect their own borders too. The U.S. has found people to accept asylum seekers. Under Trump in 2025, he has gotten El Salvador to accept asylum seekers, and some other, I believe, Guatemala and some other South American countries to accept some asylum seekers in. But one more. Some people here are worse than the immigrant rants. Well, this is just an open discussion and a debate. But sorry, go ahead, continue.
Yeah. Um so the whole very hard, even with a work visa, extremely hard to get into the country. A large body, I think I've already kind of went over this, but it consistently shows that immigrants are less likely to commit major crimes: murder, rape, robbery. These are all much lower amongst these groups of people, right? There's no correlation with increased crime there, and the data on specific offenses, when broken down by specific offense, the data continues to show lower rates uh,
You're talking
of
about
of
private third-party
right.
data from mostly liberal and Democrat institutions.
How
That's
do
a
you
little
know? How
bit
do you know it's
biased.
specifically liberal?
Because show me one that's not liberal. Most of these are, you said the source you gave was liberal. That was part of your initial statement. And
Okay,
second off,
let's
we've already talked about people that are poor and desperate have higher rates of crime. You've agreed
right.
that
Okay,
some people are
let's
poor
say
and
this.
desperate that are coming into this country. Third off,
Let's
there's
say
not any
this.
federal statistics. Why do you think there's no federal statistics for illegal immigrant crime rates? Why do you think that
Let's
is?
let's say this, right? Let's 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 say this. Total crime volume for all of Virginia, right? The raw number of crimes committed in the area. If the city's population doubles, technically by what you're saying, the statistics should likely double, if not triple, with the new population of illegal immigrants. That has never been the case in Virginia. You can look up
Like I
this on
said, there's
the
no state statistics, there's no federal statistics. And also, my third talking point was a lot of these prosecutors refuse to prosecute illegal immigrants because if they get prosecuted, that means they're going to get deported. We've already established that there's no federal statistics, there's no state statistics on these crime rates, and we've also already established a lot of people are coming into the United States because they're trying to come into the United States because they're poor and desperate. But one thing that you refuse to talk about or touch on is, are you okay with people that are murderers, rapists, and criminals coming into this country? Because when you say you want open borders, you're encouraging people from all over the world to flood into the United States that have criminal records and criminal backgrounds, and they're known for doing heinous crime against women and children. So, are you okay with that happening? Because if they're
what you're asking me is such a loaded question, right? Because you're not saying with any proven statistics that this is true information. You're slandering these people. That's what you're doing,
I'm not
right?
slandering these
But
people. It's a
it's
fun
loading.
fact when you don't
It's a
have a
it's a loaded
background check,
question. It's a
people that are
loaded question
criminals will
because you're
come.
saying that these people are rapists and you're saying that they are
No, I'm
murderers.
saying it incentivizes criminals, rapists, and murderers to come into this country. Okay, here's a guy from Mexico. He dropped 500 pesos. He said, "So what about the drug addicts in the USA? You consume, we deliver. Also, what about all the American guns used by the cartels? Should we start looking for the European supply instead?" That's actually a great point. That's why we need a
I think
strong border on both sides. We need a strong border security because then we don't let Americans sell guns into Mexico, et cetera, et cetera. If we have open borders like he wants, that encourages Americans selling guns into Mexico, which helps the cartels. And the drug addicts in the USA, it is their fault. If you put drugs in front of someone, the liberals will say, "Oh, it's this person, it's this person's fault." It's the person that's selling it to them's fault, and it's also the person that's consuming it's fault. But a lot of people that die of fentanyl and use fentanyl are not using fentanyl on purpose. Not many, unless you're a hardcore addict. You're not trying to take fentanyl on purpose. Most people that are just trying to, use blow, use H, use a bunch of other drugs, pills, all kinds of stuff. They're trying to get clean stuff, but what Mexico is flooding the market with is fentanyl stuff. They're processing fentanyl from the shipments they get in from China, and then they process fentanyl into their drugs and sell them into the United States. And what we're seeing is lowered amount. If you compare the raw statistics, we're seeing a lowered amount of drug supply coming into the United States under Trump than under Biden, because Biden had multiple open border policies. I mean, we can talk about them specifically. And also, like I said, it's not about. I'm not saying these people are all criminals, rapists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm pointing out is if you don't have background checks to come into your country, like every other country in the world has, you're incentivizing criminals to come in. You're basically saying, "Oh, come on into the country, come on into the country." Like, yes, I can I please debate? You said it's $10 super chat. I love hearing people's opinions. Absolutely. You can come on and debate after this. But go ahead. What was your point? I mean, I'm not trying to say if you want to debate, click that link down there in the Discord, message me privately, or you can message me on Twitter, Euro and Travel on Twitter. But continue on with what you were saying, because I'm not saying that these people are all murderers, rapists, woman abusers, etc. What I'm saying is having an open border and having no background checks incentivizes criminals to come into the country and incentivizes Americans to sell guns into Mexico and incentivizes the cartels to come and sell drugs into America.
Which is already a thing that they do. So
Yes, but it
with
has
wait, oh,
dropped
hang on.
significantly. Just by
Gotcha.
saying
Hang
it's
on.
already a
One
thing
second.
they
One
do
second.
does not justify
One
anything.
second.
You're
Right.
increasing the statistical number. These numbers have dropped significantly since Donald Trump has closed the border. I mean, can you acknowledge the fact that under Trump's border, that less people are coming through and less drugs are coming through into the United States? I mean, there's a war on the cartels right now. We
Can you
sent
show me the
tanks.
statistic? Can you show me the statistic where it drops dramatically, or can you show me the statistics of each year where it slowly, uh, where it has slowly gotten slower over the years as a result of active policing and
It
active border
hasn't.
control?
It's gotten rampant. During COVID years, during President Biden, fentanyl was at its all-time highs. I mean, you can see it in the streets. It's do you believe that, do you believe in open borders has more human trafficking, drug trafficking or not? Apparently it doesn't sound like you do because when you stop someone at the border, check their ID, you have enforcement there looking for suspicious people to search their vehicles and search their premises. You don't think that stops cartels and human trafficking and people doing all that kind of stuff? You don't believe, having an active border wall and border security, questioning people coming through, stop? You don't believe that stops human trafficking or drug trafficking into this country? You don't
I
believe
don't think it
having
stops enough
tanks?
for us to actively have a border control. Honestly, if
You
it
don't
still
think it
gets
helps
through,
enough
if it
to
still
have a
gets
border
through, then
control
what are you there for? If it's still getting through, then
to
what is it there for?
minimize the total amount of drugs that
It's
get
not
through?
minimizing
You
anything.
Yes, it does. It statistically
It's not
minimizes it.
minimizing.
There's
Okay,
no other
let me
reason that presidents spend billions of dollars. They're not the same numbers. Look, you want me to show you the
let's see.
statistics of drugs brought under Biden versus Trump? Would you like to
Let's
see
see.
that?
Let's see.
I'll look it
I'll
up
look
for
up
you
the
real
stats and
quick.
summaries. I'll look up the stats and summaries just to see. Let's see.
I mean, obviously, it's like a logical, it's a logical thing. You have your computer open as well?
Yeah. So what specific stat do you want me to look at?
I don't know. I'm just looking at drug trafficking under Biden at the border versus Trump. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's see what we found here. hmm. The
Let's see.
total amount of drug weight seized has been higher under Donald Trump during the last full fiscal year, 2020, comparatively to Biden's, which dropped when Biden became president, the year after Trump became president. The total amount of drug seized, dropped by over 250,000 pounds. It was over 1.1 million pounds of drugs seized by Trump in 2020, and when Biden went into office, the total number was 900,000. So
Let's see.
that's
That
literally.
I feel like just that alone, like when you kind of say you use this whole like, oh, we busted a lot, good job guys, fucking high five.
Yeah, that
I don't
was
think you're
200,000
I don't
pounds of
think that
drugs
you're
brought
also
before.
mentioning, right, that a good majority of those weren't even Mexican people. There were people from
I'm not
Venezuela,
talking about
Guatemala,
Mexican or not
Honduras,
Mexican. That's
Cuba,
irrelevant.
Colombia, Ecuador, Haiti, El Salvadorian,
Is drugs that came
Peruvian.
through the border.
Right. So, but
I'm
but
not
by
talking about
comparison,
Mexican or not Mexican. That's irrelevant.
you're right. It is irrelevant. You are fully correct. There have been a vastly higher amount during Trump's administration than it has been in
Confiscated. So you
Biden's.
admit that Trump
Right.
has confiscated more drugs at the border than
But
open
what does
border
it
Joe
matter if
Biden.
it's but what does it matter if it's still let's just look up how many packages of drugs alone have made it to the US in this year alone.
Just because
Just this year's alone.
packages make it through does not mean we should, stop trying to prevent packages coming into the United States. What kind of
And
logic is that? So you're
and
telling me
and
because
also
one person
also
sells drugs and some people use
also
drugs, we should just stop the war on drugs? That's basically
there
your logic.
also most drugs are not even getting stopped at the border. They're getting stopped at ports, which is not even the border control's job. It's technically that of
It
the
is it is the United States border enforcement's job to stop any drugs, any
it's the
kind of
Coast
illegal,
Guard's job.
huh?
It's the Coast Guard's job.
The Coast Guard, I'm not 100% sure what they handle, but I believe they handle, my friend's in the Coast Guard. What mostly he handles is, you know, stuff at sea and Stuff in the water.
which is what
Well,
I
look
mean
it
by
up for
ports.
you.
That's
Coast
stuff in
Guard
the water.
drugs.
So in 2025, the landscape of drugs has been, let's see, there is a ton of new synthetic opioids that are up to 100 times stronger than fentanyl, which is not a great thing. It's not a good thing at all. It's kind of fucked. We know that. We understand this. But it's still up from last year and the year before that as well. So what
What are we talking
exactly are
about?
you guys so what exactly are you guys seizing?
Say the number again. Talk about the statistics. If you
So
want to
in
debate,
20
drop a $10 super chat. We can be after the other person that's
just
about to happen.
just this year alone, there has been an emergence of new drugs that are 100 times stronger than fentanyl.
I'm
And
sure there's always drugs being
one
created in
second, one second,
laboratories.
one second. In 2025 alone, it is almost two times more than 2024 and 2023, meaning that there are more drugs being brought into America
What
than the last
statistics and
6
what's
years
the
alone.
total amount of weight?
Then the let's see.
Where are you
So
reading this from?
this is directly, let's see. This is the World Drug Report key on the United Nations
The
Office of Drug
United Nations. So,
Intelligence.
how many pounds of
Yup.
drugs have been brought into the country? Let's get specific numbers. That doesn't sound right. Not to mention, the year isn't over. They normally don't do statistics about how much drugs have been brought into the
Yeah,
country
they
until
do.
the
They do
full
mid
year.
quarters. They
Sorry?
do mid quarters. Yeah, they do mid quarters all the time.
Well, okay. What's the mid quarters? And how would they know if more drugs have been brought in already?
Let's see. Because it's
We
already
do
higher.
realize they're making it out to be that the U.S. Americans are perfect and we aren't. American scans also sell drugs. It's easy, but we still do. Yeah, we do. But most of the drugs are coming from other countries. A lot of the
Let's see.
fentanyl is actually coming in from Canada, believe it or not, because they have super loose laws against fentanyl in Canada.
Hmm. Let's see. Well, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not giving me a definite number.
So it doesn't give you any number. It doesn't give you any viable actual statistics. But you want me to believe that more drugs have came in, even though we're cracking down. And you just admitted 2 seconds ago that closed border stops drugs from coming in.
I don't expect you to believe it. That's just what it is. I mean, it's you can also go and read it for yourself. I don't know where they got the source
A
from.
thousand
If
Mexican pesos. Damn. Here we go. Let me hear to this guy. Don't get me wrong. I like the U.S. and I thank you very much for the capital state of mind. But freedom also comes with a lot of party. Drugs are a part of freedom, and it's not only about corruption in Mexico; it's about corruption worldwide. I mean, I just said 2 seconds ago,
I don't,
a lot of the fentanyl mostly comes from Mexico. I mean, not Mexico, Canada. Sorry, mostly from Canada, from what I've heard. But I would have to read statistics on it. But I appreciate that super chat. I appreciate that comment. Shout out Mexico. I have family that literally came in. Well, not family by blood, but family in law, family through marriage. Just to clarify, just in case you guys don't know what family in law means, I have family from Mexico that came into the country illegally, and then they later on figured out that they actually were legal citizens through not sure what legal pathways they discovered, but they found out they were actually legal citizens through their family. So, that's an interesting thing. And now they support Donald
what
Trump.
the
They
hell?
definitely don't support open border policy.
So let me get this straight. Because your family is from Mexico and they don't
No, my
support
family in
open
law,
border,
my family through
family
marriage.
in law,
Continue.
because you have family in laws, which means that your wife Mexican?
No, I'm talking about my uncle. He married a Mexican woman.
Uh-huh. Gotcha. Okay. Understandable. Because they said that they don't support an open border. You take that as like like a validation that
I'm
you
not
should
taking it
be.
as a validation. Everyone can have their own opinions. My validation is the
Cool.
facts and the statistics. Do more drug. Let me ask you this: Do more drugs and more human trafficking? Do you believe that you already admitted that they are stopping it? You just said that they don't stop it enough for your liking for them to actually be worth having a border. It doesn't matter if they're stopping one single package. That is saving lives. That is saving lives. A
I don't
hundred
think it's
thousand
saving
plus
enough
people a
lives
year
for
die
us
from
to
fentanyl.
justify it.
Sorry.
I don't think we're saving enough lives for it to be justified
So
enough,
how many
right?
lives would we need to save? Basically, what you're saying, unless we all together stop the drug addicts in the
It's
entire
not going to
country.
stop. It's not going to stop. Drugs make money. Drugs make a
I'm
lot
not
of money,
saying it's going to stop, but we can at
right? It's
least
just not
fight
gonna.
against the action. At least we
It's
can
not gonna
cut off
stop.
some of the supply. We can make it harder. We can make it. If we make it harder, if we cut off the drug supply, the prices are going to go up, and that makes less people likely to purchase it. Especially poor people won't be able to purchase as much drugs. If they can't purchase as much drugs, then less people will die. Number one,
Gotcha.
cut off the drug supply with secured borders. Number two, invest in substance abuse rehabilitation and mental health facilities, as well as shelters. Well, Trump has made some mental institutions, which I hope they have, places for substance abuse and mental health in those facilities.
So, uh, someone brought up a really good point. Moonshoot said that does he like seatbelts? The seatbelts don't guarantee you survive a crash; they just increase your odds of surviving a crash.
So, should we get rid of
I, I,
seatbelts too? That is a
sure.
great
You
point.
sure do. You sure do have a point. You sure do have a great point there. But even still, there is
We
still
don't
a
have to
great.
eliminate something.
There is
Go ahead, continue.
a great amount of risk and a great amount. You still are very likely to die, depending on how you get hit. A seatbelt does not, like you said, it doesn't guarantee that you survive. It only slightly increases your odds by such a small amount that's it's sometimes you can still die. You can still
So,
die.
do you wear a
That's
seatbelt or do you not wear a seatbelt?
of course I wear a seatbelt. I
Okay, there we go. So with that exact logic, we should stop. We should not be openly letting these people smuggle drugs into the country. Do you believe that drugs should be legalized? I mean, why are you defending this so much?
I'm not defending the act of
So do you
smuggling
think
drugs. I'm
drugs
not
should be
defending.
legalized?
Hang on, give me 1 second. I'm
Go
not
ahead.
defending the act of smuggling drugs. I'm not defending the crimes of any person. I'm not defending the fact that there may be criminals that come to the United States. There are already criminals that come to the United States from all walks of earth, right? There's no set amount of criminals from anywhere. There's not even a statistic on it. Like just like you said, right? For us to actively be to actively have a border with such security that it makes it extremely hard with almost 0% possibility for a person to start a life here, right?
Not
What
zero
I do
percent
support,
possibility. That's not at
what I
all what we
do
agreed on or
support,
what we said.
what I do support
You mean
is a
illegally?
person. What I do support is a person coming here with the mindset of I'm coming here for a better life and I'm coming here to do that in the best way possible. With that being said, I believe that yes, we should give them welfare. We should allow them to have food stamps. We should allow them to access to soup kitchens. They should have access to housing, whether it's through some type of private vendor, a shelter, somewhere where they're not homeless, because that's just increasing another
Then they should come
statistic.
into the country legally. And also, your
But we've
logic is
already established
extremely
that that is such
phallus.
a. But we have
Your logic is
already
this. Well,
stated.
first, people already sell drugs. People already die. So we shouldn't even try to interfere and stop it. So with that same logic, since people already do drugs, should we legalize? Is that you still haven't answered the main question here? And also, just because people already do it, just because it's already done, it's people already doing, doesn't mean we should legalize it or incentivize it. That's not logical. Just because people break the law, we should incentivize it or allow it, or just let people do it anyway. Or that doesn't make any logical sense. That's completely phallus all the way around. I mean, once again, I would like you to answer the question: are you for legalizing of all drugs all around the country? Because I can give
I
you lots of
don't even.
examples how that's a horrible idea. It's already been attempted before.
I don't even remember you asking that question.
That
But
was the question I asked you
no,
twice in
you
a row,
asked
and
me
you
did
said,
I?
"Let me
You asked
talk.
me
Let
did
me
I
talk."
support people coming here who are grapists and are murderers? That's
No,
what
the
you asked
last
me.
question I asked you two times in a row was, "Do you think that we should legalize drugs since people already use drugs? People already take drugs. Should
Of
we
course, I
legalize
don't think.
drugs?"
Of course, I don't think that we should go the route of we've already seen what happened. What was it that one state that legalized every drugs and it's now like a complete shithole. We've already seen how that worked.
Oregon, Portland.
We've already seen how that affects or affects a state. I don't think we should legalize every drug just to do it.
Okay, I agree with you there. We got a
That's not
logical
going to
standpoint.
that's
I'm
not
glad that you
going
point
to
out Oregon, Portland, Portland,
that was
Oregon.
that's not going to even with that in mind though, right? What I'm trying to convey is that sure, right. Drugs are bad. Drugs are very bad. Drugs come into the country every day, right? Having a border is not going to stop, it's not going to stall, and it's not going to
It does
impede.
stop and
It's
it
not
does
going it's not
stall.
going to impede
You've
on that.
already admitted to that.
It's
The
not going to
logical's
I never
power.
said that I admitted to that.
You said that yes, it stops some drugs, but that's not enough for it to actually be a border. That
Oh,
was your
you know what?
logical
You're right. I
point.
did say that. I did say that. Sure, it does kind of stop. You're right. I may have backtracked a bit there. I apologize. You're right. You're completely right. However, I do still stand by the fact that it's not going to completely disintegrate some cartel's business just because
That's
we
not the point of it. The point is to, decentivize criminals and show them that if they do get caught at what they're doing, there's a risk to it and they can go to prison and they can get, very bad penalties for their actions. The point of it is not, do you really believe ICE officers and people that secure our border go to their job every single day saying, "Oh, this year we're going to stop all the drugs from coming through. We're going to prevent all the drugs coming through"? Or do you think they go to their job saying, "Okay, at least we're going to prevent some drugs. We're going to not incentivize the criminals and drug dealers into bringing more drugs into this country"? What do you think they? How do you think they come to work every day? Do you really believe that the United States government, the people that go to their job every day, thinks they're gonna? Everyone knows that the drug trade isn't gonna stop. This is not a war on drugs. This is not the 1970s or 1960s. What this is a war on is border security and not incentivizing illegal immigration and stuff like that. And would you also point out the fact that to give illegal immigrants welfare, we're going to have to keep ignoring the homeless veterans on the street and the struggling Americans that have never received any help from the government? Can you at least admit that? Because there's still people, there's a wait in line for some of these government programs, and it seems to me that a lot of the illegal immigrants are, sometimes getting priority over American citizens that they say won't qualify, or for whatever reason they can't get these government programs, but these illegal immigrants can come into this country and do it just fine and get these programs just fine. And why do illegal immigrants get to stay at 4 and 5 star hotels in New York City, but veterans in New York City don't get it? Can you answer? Do you think that's fair? Do you think we should keep doing programs like that? Do you think that's fair for the veterans that are homeless on the street?
I don't have a lot of information on where immigrants are being housed at. I'm sorry,
I
but
mean, this was all over television, like for the last 3.5 years under Joe
sure.
Biden's presidency, where
I just said I
people
don't
were
have a lot of
getting.
statistics. I didn't say I didn't know what it was. I just said I don't have a lot of statistics on how many people are being housed in 5-star hotels, 4-star hotels. But I do want to actually, you know what? I want to ask, since we're talking about economics in 5-star hotels and 4-star hotels, do you really think that we're taking a hit on, like, like economically, by allowing more people who are generating the demand for goods and services and labor, which contributes to the production of those goods and services? Is that something that you feel is not
What
existing
goods
here?
and services are the illegal immigrants are doing? Are you going to tell me the next thing?
Everything, food,
I
their
mean, you
food.
might as well sit here and tell me that illegal immigrants are, paying so much in taxes that the reason we should let them into this country is for taxes. Because I'd love to debate that point if you want to go there.
Their presence increases the demands for goods and services. They buy things just like everyone else, right?
They don't
They
buy as
and
much
their
as the middle
labor
and
and
upper
their
class
labor
Americans do.
and their labor contributes to the production of these goods and services, right?
The
Like
the labor that they're doing is stealing American citizens' jobs. These people have a government
our
where they come from.
unemployment
They need to
rate.
fight for more privileges
If
and rights where
if
they're
a
from.
person
Here's a
if a
great
person
point.
wanted a
If
job, they'd get a
immigrants,
job,
if
right?
these illegal
If a
immigrants make
person
our
wants to
country
work,
great, why
okay,
don't they make their country great?
it's corrupt. That's why they come here. They come here because
Oh,
they're
so it's because it's corrupt.
They come here because they are a country in turmoil,
Why don't they
right?
end the corruption
If
if
you
these immigrants are so great? Why don't they fix their countries? Since they're so great, they can make America
corruption,
so great. Why
they're
don't they fix their
afraid.
own country?
They're afraid, and that's why they come here. You're looking at this from a very stone cold view, right? You're not thinking of this
I
in
not
the
You're looking at it from a
in a
stone
hu-
cold blue. You
in a
don't care about the veterans or the American citizens. You care more about
I
helping the
care I
illegal
care about
immigrants
everyone who
that
wants and
break
needs
the
help.
law.
If a person wants and needs help, they will say something, right? They will speak up. Homeless the homeless population right now consists of a lot of drug addicts, people who
Yes, and
are,
these people deserve help before the illegal immigrants because they did not break federal law to enter this
if they
country.
want help,
They
if
are
they
United
want help,
States
some of these
citizens.
people aren't even
They
looking for
deserve
help.
priority.
Some of these people aren't even looking for help. They don't
And
want
that's
help.
why Trump has passed some certain federal laws to help put these people in institutions to help them get well.
Well, wait, at least he's done one thing right. At least he's done one great thing. But that doesn't stop the fact that there are people who come to the country who actively are seeking help. They're not just on the street. They're not making the
Okay,
best of
they
their
have to come
situation.
in
They,
legally if they want to be an American citizen. Why have no other country in history have had open borders? Do you know why? Any idea?
sure,
Why does no
there
country
are there
currently
are
have
some
open
countries,
borders?
there are
Name
some
one.
countries
That's
who
not
are
a third world country. That's not governmentless. That's not in complete anarchy. Go ahead, name one.
okay. So you bring up a great point. There has never once been an open border society in the
There has
history.
been open border societies throughout history, but that's before borders were established. But I'm talking
We're
about
not talking
not
about
forget
then.
about history for a
We're
second.
talking about. I never brought up history. I was speaking specifically of now. There has
Okay,
never
yeah.
there since borders have been a thing. There has never been an open border system where there wasn't some type of checkpoint to check a person and make sure that they're not a threat to society. Completely understandable. Has this impacted any great statistic ever? Probably not. Has this ever impacted anyone to the fact to the effect of there has never once been a person or a country, right, that has a 0% crime rate because they do not allow immigration, or they have no immigration law, right, or they have a very sorry a very strict immigration law. There
Okay,
has
there's a great
never been.
point. Yes, yes, there are countries that have very strict immigration laws that virtually have zero crime. Would you like me to name some of them?
Sure, name one.
Switzerland, the United Arab Emirates. First off, we got a European country, Switzerland, very extremely strict on immigration and illegal immigrants coming in. Very low crime rate, probably the lowest crime rate in Europe. Virtually no crime. The United Arab Emirates, a Muslim Arab country. Even the Arabs, even the Muslims, they are very strict on immigration. They don't allow illegal immigrants to come into their country. If they do, they're deported. And the UAE virtually has, zero crime. So I just
I-
named you two
I'm
countries that have
very
very
happy.
strict
I'm
immigration,
very
and
happy.
they're the safest countries in this world. They are the
I'm
safest countries
very
in this
happy that you
world.
pointed this out. I'm very happy that you pointed this out. Yes,
Poland as well.
Switzerland is considered one of the safest countries in the world. Fuck yeah, great for them. I think the crime.
Japan,
I think the
Poland.
crime. Give me 1 second to get through what I have to say. I think what Switzerland has a crime index of like what 20, less than 20, something like that. But recent data shows, and this is also great information, by the way. You're gonna love this. Recent data shows an increase in certain types of crime, including violent crimes. Right? Like it's overall low, like
It's in the top 10 safest countries in the world.
but with the strict border control laws that you stated, why is it that they have an 8% increase from last year and almost a 15% increase over the past decade? Why do you think that is?
They probably have an increase of legal immigrants. Possibly, they probably have gotten more loosely with their. I don't know about the crime statistics. I'd have to look onto that honestly. But they probably have been letting in more illegal immigrants in the past decade than they have previously. Before, if I had to give a guess, they probably have. They probably have Ukrainian refugees. They probably have some other refugees coming in through these programs and whatnot. They're not perfect, but when we talk about this place doesn't have the strictest immigration laws. Let's clarify one thing. They're not. They're definitely not in the top three strictest immigration laws in the world. Definitely not. Japan. I would think Japan has some of the strictest
Yeah.
immigration policy in the entire world. Probably the strictest immigration policy. The main problem they're dealing with right now is people coming on tourist visas. That's probably why you could say they possibly have a rising crime rate because a lot of Americans and other people come there on tourist visas and cause shit. It's all over the internet. But Japan is the safest country in the world, and they have some of the strictest immigration policy. Why does Every
Well,
single
okay,
country that why do the top 5, the top 10 safest countries on the planet all have strict immigration policies of no open borders, strict policy of who comes in and out? I mean, why is that the case? You can talk about they have rising crime, they have rising violence, whatever, but that doesn't change the statistical fact that these countries are all in the top
with
10 safest. The
with a
reason a lot of
country
these
like
countries
Japan,
have
I don't even
increasing
think that we can
violence
really. With a
is
country
because
like
they have
Japan,
increasing problems with more immigrants. They keep letting more and more people in. Continue.
I don't think we can even really say that that is statistically correct. I mean,
It is
um,
statistically correct.
I
What's
don't, I just cannot. If you, what I'm looking at right now, it says that Japan has had a 100% decline from last year. I can't even fathom what that even begins to mean, right?
of what
That
crime? 100%
a
decline of
hundred
what?
seventy and according accounting for nearly 70% of all offenses, right? There has been a 100% decline in those offenses, meaning that they have a nearly almost perfect society, which we know for a fact. If you've ever been to Japan, you know that that's wrong. You know that that's
Have you been to
absolutely untrue.
Japan?
Yeah, I've been to Japan a lot of times.
Well, I'm not 100%. Have you seen any violent crimes there?
I've seen quite a few crazy things in some of the less desired places to travel in Japan. Yeah.
What have you seen?
I've seen quite a few things. I've seen gangs. I've seen
Okay, we know
people
there's
with
a gang presence
one
there, but
second. One second.
that's not a crime.
I've seen people who are completely you know that this person belongs in some type of aside or some type of facility for his own protection, right? But he is out. He is patrolling and he is dangerous right now, right? There are their police system and their judicial system is completely fucked. It's not a great judicial system at all. Their police system doesn't are not even allowed to carry guns in most cases, right?
Because they don't have guns in Japan. So you
So a
think
lot of
police should
these
have guns?
so a lot of these people, right? A lot of these people they simply just go unpoliced. And you want me to believe that
You have not named any actual crimes that you've
and you
seen in
want me to believe
Japan.
that this statistic is something that I should rely on when you compare Japan to the United States.
Well,
I
considering you haven't mentioned a single actual crime you saw, you're just naming a bunch of profiling instances where you saw a crazy guy or some people that looks like they're gangsters. That's not an actual crime. I hope you realize that. And either way, even if they're not number one, even if you don't believe their data, the fact still is here. All this stuff doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if you say, oh, Switzerland has had increased crime in the last 10 years. Oh, I don't believe that Japan has lowered crime 100% in 1 year. None of that really matters. The main point of focus is that the top 10 safest countries on this planet all have strict immigration policy and none of them have open border. There's no disputing that. There's no arguing with that. In the countries with some of the highest crime rates, especially specifically if you want to talk about the countries in Europe with the highest crime rate, they all have open border, somewhat not complete open border, but I would argue they have, a welcoming a process of welcoming illegal immigration, like Germany, the UK, Spain, all these countries, they have a process of welcoming illegal immigrants into their country. I've been to every single one of these countries and I have firsthand seen violent crimes probably 100 times more heinous than you've seen anywhere in your life before. I've seen people stab themselves in their face. I've seen what I would call there's no proof of this. I'm not saying they're 100% illegal. What I've seen, what I would suppose is probably illegal immigrants, like you did profiling, I'm doing profiling here. I would suppose what I've seen illegal immigrants doing crimes against people, stealing from people, beating up people, jumping people with other illegal immigrants. I mean, I've been to these countries where they have more open border policy, the UK, Spain, Germany. I haven't been to Sweden or Finland. They're also getting a little bit bad. I've been to Switzerland, which, by the way, is probably the safest country. It's kind of some people. I think most people would consider it a Western European country,
Mhm.
considering it is where on the map. Even Italy and Rome, it's filled. And I know they have a new conservative prime minister, but I mean, she's being blocked by the European Union to do what she really wants to do. But all these places have a heavily open border policy, or they have in terms of Italy. They had a open border policy, and they're still dealing with the consequences of allowing all these illegal Muslim African immigrants into their country. So, what do you have to say about the top 10 safest countries all being, you know, countries with strict immigration policy?
Oh, well, unfortunately, I have to say that I've reached my limit here. Thanks for
All
having me,
right,
though.
man.
Thanks for having me.
You're
Great
welcome.
debate. Great
Thanks for
debate.
coming
Thank you for
on.
a lot of the
Great
useful
discussion.
information.
Thank you for your
Yeah,
time.
no
I
problem.
appreciate you.
Let's get those Epstein files released, though. See you later.
All right, man. See ya. That was an interesting debate. Does anyone want to come on next? Switzerland has guns, so I don't know what you're talking about. No guns in those countries. Switzerland has a lot of guns. So nice attempt. But if anyone wants to debate, if anyone wants to discuss, there you go. There's your link to join in. I chat with you, but I'm a Republican. Doesn't matter if you agree with me. Doesn't matter if you're MAGA. You can come on here. We can have a discussion. We can have a debate. Guys, don't just spam call me on Discord. Please let me know what actually you want to talk about in debate. I'm not trying to answer any of these crazy calls on Discord for it to be like a madman. If you actually want to debate me, please don't just continue calling me. Please, like, drop me a comment, drop me a message about what you want to debate about, what you want to talk about, what you want to discuss with. What are the topics? I'm gonna try to stick with these couple topics. Immigration. We were supposed to talk about gun control, but the immigration debate got so crazy that we just kept, talking and talking about it. I have one person that you know, wanted to come on here. Cool deal. Love the views. I'm an old Democrat, and the views of the Republicans are looking way better. Appreciate that, Sabrina. It's never too late to come over to the party. We got plenty of room. We're open arms. We're not as radical and we're not as fascist as the media makes us look out to be. But if you guys have any questions, comments, any points you want to make, drop some super chats. Let me know. I'll probably restart this once I get some other people that want to come on and debate. I hope you guys had fun. I liked that debate. I think that was a good time. He was, a good person to talk with and debate with and discuss with. All right, guys, I'm going to restart the stream right now. That's unfortunate, man. You gotta have Discord, or you can message me on Twitter. Euro and Travel on Twitter. No, you're not gonna lose your health care, Sabrina. That's only for the illegal immigrants. But I'm gonna restart the stream right now. That was definitely an interesting one. But yeah, I'll restart the stream and we'll get some. Message me on Twitter. Euro and Travel on Twitter. Sabrina, if you'd like to talk, discuss with me, I'm gonna send the Discord link one more time in this live stream for anyone that might want to join, might want to discuss, and then I'm going to restart. We can get it going. Does that sound good to everyone? So we're going to restart this. Give me maybe 10 to 15 minutes to find the next guest. No one's threatening me, but it's okay, guys. I'll be back. We're going to restart the stream. And yeah, I'll be back, guys. Peace, peace, peace. We're going to get someone else in here.